Hey there, and welcome to Rockwall, Texas Living, the web's biggest blog on the smallest county in Texas. I am your host, Evan Madison.
And I'm your co-host, Richard Madison.
You know, I was out showing a house the other day to some clients, and we walked in, and it was seriously in need of some help. Inside, outside, the drive up uphill was bad. You know, we have all these shows on HGTV and whatnot. They're teaching us how to do it. But maybe some people just aren't getting it. So we wanted to give you guys out there some tips that we see from our point of view in real estate of how you can better position your house to sell.
Right, and it's really important. I took a couple out the other day and showed them a house. And when we got there, the front door was open and just a glass screen there. And I thought, uh-oh, what's this mean? And they were home. And when we walked in the house, they followed us around the house. And there was also so much stuff around the house that when we got out of the house, we were talking at the curbside, and the lady that I was working with, she said, you know, I'm really having a hard time getting all that clutter out of my mind to see what could be the potential in that house. And that was a real wake-up call, I think, to any of us that say, my house is not selling because people cannot see the house in lieu of all the things that I put in it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we want to tell you a couple things in this blog about what you can do inside the house, what you can do outside the house. And this information, the percentages that we're going to give you, is taken from a Procter & Gamble survey of buyers. So we got some credible people there taking that survey. And so our numbers and the percentages that we're going to share with you are pretty authentic as to what's happening with buyers out in the market. So let's talk about outside the house. You know, when you drive up to a house, it has to draw you in. But there's only 22% of the outside that you can do anything about. 78% of it deals with your location in the town and also with your house footprint that sits on that location. So there's only 22% that you can work with. And so we have to think about that. How much money are you going to put outside the house? Is it really worth that? Or are you going to spend more money inside the house to make it look just right for every buyer? And so when we think about that on the outside, what could you do? Well, first of all, you need to have a clean house, a yard. And you need to pick up all those branches and to trim the trees back as much as possible and the bushes to kind of make it look like there's somebody, a landscaper maybe even, doing some work out here.
Right.
And then you could add some mulch to it, and that kind of gives a smell, a fragrance, and it also gives a good look on that outside. And then flowers. Flowers are welcoming as you put them on the sidewalk or all the way up to the house and put them in some buckets around. That makes a big difference. But that's about it.
Yeah.
You can't do much more than that with a house. So that's about 22% of the influence outside that you can affect at all. But what you want to do is be able to have them be drawn in to say, I'm curious. This looks so nice out here. I'm curious as to what it looks like inside. That's a key element.
The outside that he's speaking of, it is clearly, according to Procter & Gamble, it's important, but you know it's going to get you that initial drive up uphill. But once they get in the house, it's going to be 75% up to you or so of what you can or can't change. That's a much larger percentage than what you can do outside. And so while the outside is still important, we're just bringing it back to show you that the inside is really where you can sell your house.
Right. And we talk about that being 78% inside, or excuse me, 72% inside that you can have some great impact on. So how do you do that? The first category is spaciousness. When a buyer walks in your house, they need to not be confronted with furniture. They need to be able to look through the room.
Right. Yeah. One of the worst things that we see time and time again is with this oversized furniture that's really popular. You walk in and it's positioned like literally you can't walk any further. You have to go around the furniture. So there's a space in the house for you to walk through, but it's covered. Your walking path is covered by the furniture. So you want to eliminate objects like that out of the walking path, but as well as your sight view.
Yeah, and when you're thinking about that also in spaciousness, you want to think about how many things you have in the room. Now, to you who've lived in the house for a long time, you may have just added a chair here and added a bookcase here, But if you step back and you stand in the entrance of that house and look at that room, you may decide that you've got too much in there. You've got to move some of that out. And maybe it's a good time to have a garage sale anyway, so gather all that stuff that may be extraneous to really having a good-looking house, put it in the garage, or put it up for sale. So that's the first thing, spaciousness, to be able to look through the house, to be able to see the rooms completely. Second thing is, make it clean to sell. Now, you may not live like that. You may be a little bit less than 100% cleanly all the time. Most of us are in our home.
We all live in our houses.
Right.
We understand that.
Right. If you walk in it every day and it looks like a model, then you're really not living in that house, okay? You must have a bed down there at work. But if you're talking about clean to sell, what we're talking about is spending a little time to make it look like it's clean. Now, a lot of people think, well, that takes a lot of time. Every morning I got to get up and clean all this up. Well, a great idea has been given to us by another individual, and that was you can buy those wipes, all kinds of wipes for wood, for floors and everything, and you don't have to pull out the buckets and the mops and all that. You can just use that wipe every day over counters and all that, throw it in the trash, and you're done. Cut your time in keeping it clean to sell. Also, we're talking about odors in clean to sell, and that means fragrances that are in the house. Maybe you're over candleized and you've got all kinds of candle fragrances. But maybe you have a dog or a cat and they are inside and outside, and maybe you never shampoo them. Well, those odors are going to be present, and the longer that the other kinds of fabrics that you have in a house may connect with that too. So Febreze, again, is a great thing to have around the house and to spray. Also, you might want to take that dog or that cat and get them cleaned up. That might make a big difference.
And I'd like to say something, regardless of what your smoking preference is, whether you do or don't smoke, smoke in a house can be very detrimental to the sale of a house. According to surveys we've seen, only about 22% of America smokes. So you have, 78% of other potential home buyers that could walk into the house and they don't find it appeasing.
Right. In fact, I've heard several buyers that walk in a house and get hit, in a sense, by the smoke, say, oh, this smoker lived in this house. Well, that's a negative right off the bat to them even thinking positively about buying that home.
Right. So the best thing you can do if you are a smoker, choose to do that, then smoke outside, and not even necessarily in the garage. I know a lot of people do that. It still comes back into the house, but if you'll go outside the premises and smoke out there, that will really help the sale of your house.
Right, and that's what we're talking about here. All these things are elements that will help sell the house, wipe out the negatives that are going through the mind of a buyer. The third one, after spaciousness and clean to sell, is no work to be done. That's the thought that you want going through that buyer's head. Man, when I come in this house, boy, I don't see anything that I have to do. I don't have to put up any new drywall. I don't have to do any painting. The carpet is good. There's no work for me to be done. All I got to do is move my stuff in. That's the idea.
You got to remember that buyers are seeing sometimes 10, 15, 20 homes, and if they can have a home that they walk in and they realize there's nothing to be done, that is like so close to them making an offer on it.
Right, because we know that if people have to do things, it costs them money, and therefore they add that into the price of the house as a deterrent.
It's not only a deterrent in a possible offer, but in an offer, if you do receive it, it's also going to be a deterrent in a full price offer.
Okay, so those three things are key elements, and they make up about 72%. And the last one is decor neutral, or staging your furnishings in a way that they can actually see their own furniture in that home. And tell us a little bit about decor neutral. What does that mean, Evan?
Well, it's going to be, if you have that couch from the 80s that has polka dots or stripes all over it, you might want to contemplate moving that out and even having less furniture than one piece that's going to really stand out. It's the stuff that really, when you are looking through a room that catches your eye, you don't want people for their eyes to be caught on your furniture or your accessories in your house. You want them to look at the room and be able to picture how spacious it is and how their furniture and their belongings will fit into the room. Same thing goes also with personal pictures. We need to talk about that too.
Very important.
We all love our families for the most part, and pictures are distracting to potential buyers. I was in a house yesterday, and they had an entire wall of pictures, and it was their family. Well, I myself, I'm in houses all the time showing them to clients. I stop and I look at the photos. That's what everyone does. You want them to not stop. You want them to continue walking through the house and not think about how you guys live in the house, but you want
Right.
them to picture how they're going to live in the house.
Right. Otherwise, it's really a museum, right? You're going to every picture, seeing what's in there. Oh, that's neat. Oh, look at their family here. Was in a house recently where, as you walked into the main bedroom, there was a huge picture of the woman in her wedding dress. So that could be good. It just, that showed they were newlyweds for sure. So there's a lot of things that you can change about and create a decor neutral home. And a lot of the things that we're talking about, spaciousness, clean to sell, no work to be done. That no work to be done might have some money involved in it, but for the most part, it's not going to be that expensive to make your house a better show house and get it sold quicker. This is what you want in the front of your house as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we want you to comment on these. Maybe you had a question, maybe we went over something too fast for you, or you had another idea, or you have a story to tell us about a home that you saw as a buyer. We'd love to hear that. You can comment at our blog.
Together, learning more about Rockwall every day and keeping you informed on real estate.